Well, hello everybody. It is Monday. Finally, hopefully you have survived the weekend. I know that I have been crawling into Monday, coming off the heels of a holiday. Great to see you, Goddess. Always wonderful. Hey, Melissa. Glad you're here. Hey, Becca. So, I am going to be going live with Catman Grove today, and we are going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. She's requested to be a part of it now, but I think you're going to love her story and love her background and where she comes from and how she's moved forward. Hey, how you doing, Kat?
Hi, I'm glad my phone's working now.
Hey, how about that? You only
Hi,
had
everyone.
you only had to get a new phone, right?
Yeah, just a whole new phone altogether. You know, wasn't planning on that.
No, no one usually is,
Yeah.
right? It's one of those evils, but so glad you could join us today.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Did you have a good holiday weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't nothing really problematic happened. I just hung out with my boss and his wife and like a little bit of their family, so it was pretty chill.
Awesome.
What about you?
Yes, I have labeled it Food Day
Yeah,
weekend,
yeah,
and I have eaten.
that's not good.
So let me see. I ate more than I needed to. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, oh, okay. That's kind of the story of everyone's life during Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of like I'm putting on my winter weight.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
do.
part of the plan. That's part of the season.
Yes. So I am so happy. Thank you for agreeing to be on here with me today.
Yeah, no big deal.
Would,
I'm excited.
would you take a moment, just kind of introduce yourself to those that are watching now and those that will watch later?
Yeah, so I go on my by Cat Del Mar on social media on all my deconstruction witchy social medias. Because my regular name is boring and it doesn't
Oh,
make a good pen name. So
on Brad. I'm boring than the name Brad. So
it is what
hey,
it is, you know. Yeah, so I'm in my 30s. I work as a veterinarian. That's my muggle job. And yeah, I that's pretty much like the basics.
okay, very good. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background, religious background, where you come from?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Florida, South Florida, and my parents are Jamaican, so they're Caribbean. And my dad, he was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist, you know, a couple of generations back. Seventh-day Adventism, it's a pretty big denomination, but like also under the radar.
Hmm.
But in Jamaica, it's really big. So you know, they were pretty devout, especially in like a Caribbean country. But once he got here, you know, he ended up marrying my mom, who is not very devout, was, and I don't think ever really was.
Right.
Um, you know, and so my dad, you know, he would try to take us to church, but like my mom would always be working on Saturdays because they worship on Saturday. They believe that's the Sabbath. So you know, he would try to take us to church, but he was kind of not very staunch about it. And you know, he would sometimes when like his Adventist friends would come to visit from up north or Jamaica, wherever, he would kind of pretend to be a little more staunch than he really was. Like, oh, let's make sure we do Bible study on Friday night when we never really did that, you know. But we always followed like the dietary laws. Like, you know, I didn't eat pork growing up. I thought I was unclean if I accidentally touched some pork. Like all of that. Like we
Yeah.
followed those dietary laws, and that's like the one thing that was pretty good about keeping. Everything else I screwed up on, but that one I was decent. I was decent on. And yeah, so my dad, he's a very intellectual person. So he was never like hook, line, and sinker. From when I was younger, he was never like that. When I would ask him questions, he kind of would leave a gray area. So at least that offered me some leeway
Mm.
as far as thinking outside of the box.
Okay. Very good. I like that. Becca pointed out Muggle job or Muggle job. Love it.
Yeah, like you know, Harry Potter, like
Content.
like you're mundane, like, oh, that's my worldly job, you know, even though I wish I could just be a spiritual person, but I gotta pay the bills. I have student loans to pay.
Yeah.
But you know, speaking of that, like I say that in jest, but like veterinary medicine is actually a very spiritual and intuitive job. And I tend to think, I never really think of anything as just secular and just spiritual. I think it's all interconnected.
Right. Right.
And so, like, for instance, as a veterinarian, your patients can't talk to you. So you have to listen to their owners, sure, but you also have to intuit and kind of look at the body cues, go on your gut sometimes. You have to, sometimes I just get it many times, not even just sometimes, almost every shift. I'm like, I just have a feeling we need to check this.
Hmm.
And it turns out, like, yeah, you should have checked
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's actually not that secular of a job. It's actually helped me
I wish
spiritually.
that I could bring my dog to you.
Aw, that's
That's
so
exactly
nice.
what a veterinarian say. That's
Yeah,
exactly what, somebody
yeah,
that cares and thinks beyond. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Thank you. That's a huge compliment.
So, all right. So, let me ask you this. Okay. So, you had a little bit of leeway with your religious background,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So, when did you start to kind of deconstruct? Was there a moment, or was it just kind of all throughout life you deconstructed religion?
Good question. Yeah, so there were a few times in my life where I tried to be more devout. I noticed.
Hmm.
Like when I was 16 and I started to gain some more independence. Because when you're a kid, what do you know about religion? Yeah, you might be reading these tracts or whatever that your friend gives you. You might be, reading this purity book that your evangelical aunt gives you. But
Yeah.
what do you really know about religion? And
Right.
it's not until like you start to come into your teenage years that you start to conceptualize things more than just what you can see, I guess. And so when I was 16 and I got my car, my mom, she was working constantly. My dad was down. We had moved to Jacksonville, so my dad was down in South Florida. So my sister and I kind of were latchkey kids, and I had my car. So I was like, well, mom's not going to take me to church. Dad barely comes to visit us now after a couple of years of going back and forth, 5, 6 hour drive. So what if I try to go to church by myself? And so I tried to go to a church in Jacksonville by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to be more devout, but they were like really conservative. Like earrings, no. Pants, ugh. Like they just were like dreadlocks even were like a problem.
Right.
And like the pastor, although he was always kind of nice to me, there were rumors that he was vaguely racist because
Mm.
he was from South Africa.
Okay.
And so I was like, I don't know, maybe this isn't the place for me because I ended up disobeying my mom and getting my ears pierced. So I was like, I had to hide them. I remember hiding them because I was afraid of how much trouble I would get into.
How do you hide getting your ears pierced?
So my hair was kind of long back then.
Hmm?
It was kind of, I think I was wearing it. It was like about this long, and I was wearing it in twists, so I could like take a bobby pin and kind of like flush my hair against my ear.
Oh, geez.
This is ridiculous. Like as I talk about these things, I realize how sick they really are, and I just hope that when I say these things, people can like kind of relate,
Mhm.
and they can be like, "Whoa, this wasn't right," because
Yeah.
it took me dang near 30 years to realize this stuff wasn't right.
Hmm.
Right. So I tried at 16, and then I was like, this isn't really the business for me. So then I kind of fell off and just finished high school. And then when I got to college, I was really trying to like get more into my Jamaican roots because I had been living in North Florida, which was like zero Jamaicans, hella racist,
Yes.
um, just very, because you lived in Florida at a time, right?
Uh,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Jacksonville was backwards. It was southern Georgia. So I
Hmm.
was like, let me get into my roots and let me try to get more Adventists. There are plenty of Adventists out here, both Jamaican and non-Jamaican, of all types. And I found them to be very controlling and judgmental and boring. I mean, I'm not trying to be an a-hole, but like boring. And I just was like, for instance, I had dreadlocks at the time. Well, I started my dreads when I got into college, into undergrad. And like I remember one of these Adventist boys said to me, he was like, "Oh wow, I would never date a girl with dreadlocks." I thought you were supposed to be worried about my character and my Christian life. Why are you pressed about my hair? It was so weird. All the girls loved the hair, but this little stank, dusty, crusty boy was like, "Oh, like look at your hair." And I was like, "I'm out." Like again, so I left again.
Tell me how you really feel about that.
Like I was like, you jerk! Like, if you have nothing constructive to say, why? Like, how is that godly?
Right.
Bring it back to the topic. How is that edifying to me
Mhm.
as your sister in Christ, quote unquote. So then I was like, F it. And then, but at that time in college, I was struggling a lot. I was struggling with um, adjustment disorder, being away from my family. Um, we're talking about just how I deconstructed. I was sexually assaulted, you know,
Oh,
in college, in undergrad, my first year of undergrad. So that just threw me for an entire loop, and I developed a very bad relational patterns with people. Well, I mean, I already had a bad foundation because I was in purity culture. I had
mhm.
parents that never talked to me about sex or relationships. I was assaulted. I live in a society that's you're either an oversexed slut. I'm sorry for the language, but slut or a boring prove that nobody wants to hang out with because you're boring. So I had a lot of bad things going for me. So, college was difficult, and then so I got through college with my bachelor's. Struggled, some more with this with I would call very addictive behavior, compulsive, picking people that were unhealthy, that were addicted to various things, drugs, alcohol, whatever,
Right.
emotionally unavailable people. And I had a core of low self-esteem because I just never found in church that they really were trying to instill that you as an entity, as an individual entity, has power, love, God in you. That was not the case. And you're a woman, forget you. You're queer, pff, you're a piece of crap. And you're black, just go to hell, essentially.
Right.
like so then I ended up getting into veterinary school, and that's kind of where things started to really come to a head because I had already been for years struggling with this assault that I barely talked to anybody about, and I was having bad relationships, and I was dibbling and dabbling in drugs and alcohol because why not? Because I wanted to numb my pain,
Right.
my existential dread. And so in veterinary school, I can't focus. I have extreme anxiety, extreme fear and anxiety because I have a core a void inside, and I was just terrified of the world. So I would numb myself. But then all these shootings of unarmed black people happen. Like school is extremely hard.
Mhm.
I try to go back to church one last time. They're keeping tabs on me, wanting me to be volunteering all the time. They want me to spend all my time at church. They don't give a damn about my mental health or how I'm doing in school. It's just like you
Right.
must be at the church all the time or you're a piece of crap. And then also, even in school, I found that the Christians that I'm supposed to be getting along with, that are supposed to be kind and considerate and caring, they didn't give a damn when all those black people were getting shot or people of color. Or it wasn't even just, there weren't even just black people. I remember one time there was this white guy, he was forced to crawl in this hotel and then he got shot. I mean, like some sick crap happened. And I was just all alone. And when I tried to open up about what I was going through, I was shunned. So I was like, you know what? Bet. I'm done. Like, obviously, Christianity, as it's practiced in the West, is not for me. At least what I was seeing.
Right. Right.
How can I fit myself into this really tiny box that's really very constricting and very suffocating? So I was like, I think I really should try to learn more about um, my ancestors and like African religion because I'm an African woman. I mean, yes, I speak English and my parents are from Jamaica, but my origins are in Africa.
Mhm.
So I wanted to learn more about like African religion traditionally and diasporic religion because we were brought over here. We mixed with Europeans, natives, so all those influences are there. So I figured let me learn a little bit more about these earth-based religions of that are relevant to a diasporic woman.
Right. Right.
So that's when I kind of started down. I really was like, that was the last straw. Veterinary school was the last straw. Yeah,
Okay.
last straw.
That led you into walking through all of that, and that was traumatic in and of itself,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
just totally traumatic.
yeah,
Watching that journey or experiencing that journey, you ended up being, and I believe what we called, or what you call as a sea witch. Is that right?
yeah,
Would you
yeah,
mind taking an opportunity to share with everybody what that means? What's that look like?
yeah. So I mean, okay. So generally, a witch is just somebody that is in tune with nature, and is one with nature, and the God in nature, the God in themselves,
Hmm.
and just uses their connection with nature, on honoring that connection with nature, to just craft their world, and using their intentions mixed with the power that nature has to like I said, craft their world, to manifest what they desire, and to protect their world, really.
Right. Right.
So a sea witch would specifically be somebody that's in tune with the sea, and the animals, the tides, the moon, the things, that come from the sea. Like, we've all seen sea glass and driftwood. What do those things mean for you? Like, sea glass is, bottles, shards of glass that have been weathered, years, sometimes decades, sometimes hundreds of years, to the point where they're soft and they're opaque, and they end up turning, like, almost looking like precious stones, because they've been weathered by, you know over time, by the waves and by the sand and by the storms. So what does that mean for you? That time refines you. So
Mm.
it's pretty much just using, it's a lot of metaphors and a lot of personal, what would the word be, a lot of personal implications, a lot of personal, what does it mean for you, like personal meanings, like you're kind of projecting. So there's a lot of projecting, and letting nature project onto you if you're still and you just be quiet for a second.
Right.
And I have a hard time with that. I love technology, but what is nature trying to tell you? What is the sea trying to tell you? you know
Mm. Mm. Well, I love that because we first of all, let me say this: Soulfully Brie said that we have sea glass basically in our backyard.
Ooh, does she live by the sea? Probably. There's some
Yeah.
beaches that, like, have it. So I had not actually seen sea glass,
Hmm.
on the beach until maybe about a year ago. Like, during the pandemic, I went to the beach, and there was one beach down here in South Florida that had a ton of it. And sometimes, depending on, the currents and stuff, that you might get more. So she's really lucky. I mean, sea glass is so beautiful. You can make jewelry out of it. You can put it, as decorations, whatever. And that's just one element, that, has meaning,
Well, what
has an association.
that's what I wanted to ask you about because when I got to talk to you before, which was awesome, you mentioned how that's how you identify.
Yeah.
But there's other ways to identify. What are those other ways that people identify?
Yeah, so I think we did talk about this. Like, for instance, there's a saying, like, you want to find your bliss, right? So
Hmm.
what are the things that innately, inherently, whether just because of you as an individual, or even, I've noticed some of these things run in families.
Hmm.
Like, if you're a person that's very musical, if you're a person that loves to write, if you're a person that loves to dance, that's your magic. Like, I think everyone has magic, and I feel like these terms don't, they're English terms, they're human terms that are just trying to describe a very ethereal experience. The experience of being a human being there's not one way to describe it.
Right.
So whatever brings you joy, that's your gift, that's your magic. So those are things that you would want to hone,
Hmm.
because there's power in your skill, right? Like, I love to write.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, that comes in handy when I need to write an incantation or a prayer. People call it prayers. I mean, I really think, and I think I said this to you, yeah, like, prayers are really just spells. But
Right.
and I know that that's blasphemous to say, oh my gosh, but if you really think about, oh my goodness, I'm so concerned about who I'm going to offend. Not anymore.
Mhm.
Um, uh, how is it different? How is the miracles of the Bible? How is that different from magic? I just don't understand. It's because and you know, I actually, like, watched a video from CBN the other day where this lady was just railing against witchcraft generally, just calling it evil. But I guess witchcraft is okay if it's whitewashed, right? I guess
Oh,
it's okay.
right. Come on now.
Then
Yeah.
it's totally okay if it's just, some hippie sky god, that you've whitewashed, even though he came from, Jerusalem, which is, much closer to the equator. Like, then that's okay. but if it's on a brown body, if
Uh-uh.
if it's a native body, if it's a Celtic body,
Oh.
you know, that's practicing their earth-based traditions before they were colonized, then it's a problem.
Mm.
So
Get
again,
it.
whatever, you know, not to be, I just this sometimes this stuff makes me angry, but I'm trying not to be angry. But like, I'm very passionate about this because I just know for so long, like my talents, I suppress them because those are not emphasized really, you know, in Christianity, or at least the Christianity that I practice. They really weren't.
Right.
And your talents, those are the things that can heal you and can help heal others. You
Right.
know, I and to go on that, like I so yeah, I identify as a sea witch, but I also like I said, I love to write. So writing is what healed me from a lot of the sickness that I was dealing with. Specifically, like I really had a very bad problem with loveless relationships. That was like the worst part for me. And then I've just been deconstructing what addiction means, what sickness means, what mental health means. And writing really helped heal me through that. And I've noticed when I talk to people about what I went through, they feel they feel comforted or healed by that as well.
Yeah.
You know, and like for instance, I love makeup too. And so I find when I put on my makeup, I even if it's not, I'm not like doing a whole spell or a whole ritual or something like that, but I put it on with the intention of, you know, putting my best foot forward. If I'm going to an interview, I'm gonna get this interview, and I'm going to make myself beautiful and put on this almost like an armor, but like
Mhm.
a beautiful armor.
Yeah.
So like, you know, your voice can be your magic. So
Right.
any you really you could be a dance witch, you could be a music witch, you could be a kitchen witch, someone that pours love into the food that they make for their family to heal their family,
Hmm.
to bring their family closer together. I
How about
don't
smoking
yeah.
witch?
Sorry, say it again.
How about a smoking pipe witch?
Smoking pipe witch, a smoking witch, an herbal witch. I love that for you.
Only the
Yeah.
blends.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Only the finest blend.
Only the finest blends, just to, you know, to calm yourself down, just puffing away. Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah,
so
you got it.
tell me a little bit here. What is the worldview of a witch? Like, not necessarily religion, but what is your worldview? Like,
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So, like I kind of spoke about before, like a witch is someone that just believes that there's not really a separation between the secular and the sacred. You
hmm,
know, they believe everything's interconnected.
it's interwoven
It's
together.
interwoven together.
Right. Okay.
And, you know, that the same divinity that's in me, you know, that's in the universe, that's in creation, you know, that's in nature, it's divinities manifest in many ways.
Hmm.
It doesn't just belong to one group of people or one race
Hmm.
or one gender or one species. You know, and
Right.
therefore you want to live in a way that you're honoring the divinity in others, you know, trying not to do harm unto others.
Hmm.
At the same time, you have to understand that there are elements in this world that are dangerous to you. So you also want to try to protect and refine yourself so that, you know, you can, I guess, mitigate as much harm as possible.
Okay.
Right. And you have a duty also to protect this earth that you live on. And that's another thing that I really wasn't taught when I was younger. Like recycling is important. I know that I cared more about recycling. And we all saw what happened when the pandemic came down, like how the animals were like, yes, bitch. Like they were like so happy that we were freaking gone, that we were, you know, our the smoking pipe witch was inside. You know, the sea witch was inside, just kind of chilling for a second so they could flourish for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, so I've been trying to recycle more. You know, sometimes like when I go kayaking, I pick up trash. Like I just try to do my part,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So when you realize that, you know, there's God everywhere,
Hmm.
that it's not just some person up on high judging you,
Hmm.
then you have more compassion for the people around you and for nature.
Right.
You know, you're not so quick to judge because you understand that everyone has their own path and everyone's called in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't claim
All
that my way is the only way. I don't.
humanity is linked, right? And
Yeah.
that we all have that universal presence within us. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, there's no one right way. And I think you can be any religion and be a sea witch. You can be a Christian sea witch. You can be an atheist. You can be, you know, a Buddhist because it's more of a practice. Like we said, it's more of a worldview
And not a real.
and not really a religion. I mean, there are religions that do practice magic, like Wicca and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, witchcraft is more. Yeah, it's more of a. It's a practice. It's a worldview. It's intent. It's living every day with intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking things over your life and the lives of others that are positive. I mean, obviously there are bad people of all types, and so whenever anyone makes a blanket statement like, "Oh, witches are evil and bad," like, are all Christians good? Are all atheists good? Are
Mm-hmm.
all Hindus good?
Mm-hmm.
Baha'i? No, there are pieces of crap in every religion. So it's just like it's about understanding the gray area and working in the gray area, working in the things that you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm a veterinarian. When animals die,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel their spirit leave. Like it's something that you can feel, but I can't see it. So it's that's a simple example of what a spiritual thing is. It's something that you cannot necessarily see, but you feel the effects of. You see the result of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm tired of binary thinking. Yes, yes, I agree. It doesn't work
Now,
because in what like even with sexuality and stuff like that. And I try to think of these things in a scientific way. With sexuality, like there are okay, eye color. Let's start with that. No person has the same eye color. No person has the same, you know, curl pattern to their hair. So why would even sexuality be a binary? Why would there's no one way to do anything else in life. So why would there be only one way to be with God or not? Or just to live your life aspiritually or spiritually?
I love your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I love how passionate you are about this. This is awesome.
I just think about it way too
So,
much.
so you mentioned something that's kind of interesting. You mentioned Wicca and witch as
Mm.
because they have you mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they had a sort of kind of religion attached to theirs, or
Well, yeah,
right?
Wicca is a religion. Like
Okay,
it was actual like rites and covens and stuff like that.
right, right. And
Um,
so, but witches don't have covens, is that right?
well,
Or
witches can have covens, but
okay,
like for instance, there are some, you know, covens, let's say in Florida, Georgia, whatever, that maybe not all the people practice the exact same path. Some might be, I don't know, they might be Haitian voodoo assance. They might be, you know, that they might practice that. Some might be maybe they practice Norse religion or Celtic religion,
yeah,
but like they can learn from each other. They can learn different rituals, different practices, and commune together as people that do understand the earth, that understand that spirits in the animals, that they understand that your ancestors should be respected. There are a lot of things that are similar in across the board with that kind of mindset, with that kind of worldview.
mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So there is some resemblance, but it's still different.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And there might be a Wicca person that's in the coven, or there might be Wicca specific covens, or there might be, let's say, there might be Celtic specific covens. It's possible, but there are also ones that are more eclectic. Especially nowadays, we're not as isolated as we were before. So, and people are kind of trying to reclaim practices that were lost due
Yes,
to colonization, due to, you know, the slave trade, whatever.
right.
So there is going to have, and now we're on new land, you know, so we have to kind of incorporate and respect the practices of this land,
Mm,
you
mm.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. All right. So, um, let me ask you kind of I'm going to back up just a little bit because I
Yeah.
was interested. You love to write,
Yeah.
um, and you love the water.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you combine the two of them? Is it more powerful for you when you combine the two of them, or what's that look like for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, so hmm, um, in some of my writings, I do talk about um the sea. I talk about the animals. Like there are some affirmations that I say for myself daily that contain, animal totems or sea motifs because
Okay.
I feel like that adds power to what I'm intending. And when I think it also helps me to be mindful, like when I really sit and think about, what each animal means maybe, or what, like if I'm speaking about, like in one of the affirmations, I talk about the way, um, what's this animal again? Why is it, why can I think of, oh, stingray, duh.
Okay.
Like a stingray, like how their wings glide, like as they move through the different parts of of the thermocline in the lake. Like as their wings glide, they kind of disperse the different the heat in the lake. And I
Yeah.
think about those things, and it kind of gives me a stillness that like it's not just me out here. Like there are other entities that I can sit and ponder on and think about what they mean for me and how I can incorporate that strength in myself or how I can give back to that strength.
Awesome.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like I do need to do more writing by the sea because there's another thing like the sea can be dangerous. Like I love to kayak, and that's kind of where I really got got a healing. I got a healing when I really started kayaking like last year
Mm-hmm.
and even the year before in 2019 before the pandemic hit. Like it can be dangerous, but there's a vulnerability that you feel when you're by the water, especially if you're in the water in an area that's deep,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that can be scary. But I feel like another part of being a witch is to dig into those deeper shadow parts of yourself that you're afraid of, because that's how you grow. Just like in anything in life, if you don't take a challenge, if you don't go outside of your comfort zone, how are you supposed to grow?
Right.
But
Right.
sometimes I feel scared even to go to the sea sometimes because I know that I'm gonna be raw there.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So let me ask this question. Say someone was looking to develop this witch worldview, start to kind of channel, see what kind of witch they are,
Mm-hmm.
um, develop these kinds of spiritual practices as a witch. Uh,
Yeah.
what would you recommend? How would you recommend them getting started?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I think obviously we have the internet now, so there's a lot that you can do as far as researching. And you kind of want to go slow. Like you don't have to know exactly what you believe in a day. I still am figuring out what I believe, and it's a path of it's a slow path. It's a
Mhm.
path of constant research and constant reading, um, and just taking notes, writing about what you think, and then just kind of going on your intuition and seeing what resonates with you. If
Hmm.
you're a person that already, enjoys, let's say, art, then that might be something that you want to incorporate drawings into your intention work, into your mindfulness work, into your
Okay.
meditation. Um, what else? You could find a group of people nearby. But I mean, be cautious about that because, there can be unsavory people in every religion. There can be unsavory people in every practice. And I've come across people they claim to be spiritual, but, they out here cheating on their wives and, they out here being abusers,
Right.
spiritual and otherwise. Um, so you might have to spend some time alone for a little bit, just thinking and meditating and just trying to get away from the distractions of this world.
Sure.
And you want to do some work about protecting your heart and your mental and your wallet because some people out here trying to scam you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that people are people. That's kind of like, sometimes that's like really the crux of my message. Like, people are people, life is life. Like, we're all just trying to live the experience of being a human being. We're all just doing the best we can for the most part. Obviously, there's some assholes, but we're trying to do the best we can. And like, I don't think I would have come to this path without some um reasonable reasons, but like with some reasonable justifications. Like, no one wants to just leave their religion for no reason. And even sometimes I still struggle. But
Sure.
like, you have to just own your own story.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes you need to sit down and think about what your story really is.
Right.
And right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um and it's good to find a mentor.
Okay.
And your mentor actually might be somebody that you already know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually knew people, like my one of my best friends who I've known for more than 20 years. She had been kind of on the witchy path for a while, but then like when I started to come on, even though we're very different witches, but at least she understands where I'm coming from without judgment, and we can dialogue and just help refine each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and accept our differences and also acknowledge our similarities.
Hmm.
Some interdisciplinary work, you know. Um, yeah, so it might be somebody you already know. And then, like I said, when you go online, there are usually groups for, whether in person or online, like Zoom or whatever, or a forum or whatever. They usually, if you can think about it, there probably is a group for it. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
um, like,
It's an amazing thing when it comes to figuring out, what's out there.
yeah, just like I didn't know really that deconstruction was a thing until I went on to Instagram and saw that there's this whole community. There's a word for what we're doing, that we can, even though we're all on different paths, that's still a good, even in Instagram is a good place to go sometimes for some wisdom
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from whoever it is, from an atheist, from an agnostic, from a sea witch, from a progressive Christian. Like, we're all just trying to learn how to be better people, and I don't think you need to just only follow the tenets of one religion to do that. I think to just only follow one religion so staunchly, I don't think that's for the curious people with curious minds.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a douche, but like, that's that it's simple mindedness.
Yeah.
Not that it's on me, but I mean, like,
Uh,
yeah, you
all right.
gotta
Let me
think with a complex, critical mind.
yeah, let me pause you there for a second. Hi,
Hmm.
informal mystic. Good to see you. Uh,
Hi.
okay, so I'm definitely gonna have to explore this pipe witch uh, aspect for myself.
Phenomenon. The smoking pipe witch.
My pipe, you know.
And now I'm curious to see if that, but obviously, like, smoking, we're joking about that, but smoking is something that is done in ritual. Like, okay, we
Yes.
know, like, Rastafarians, for instance, they
Mm-hmm.
use herbs, a specific herb, if you know what I'm saying. They use a specific herb to reach, shamanistic levels. That's a thing. So, like, there, and even if you're smoking something that's not necessarily hallucinogenic,
Yeah.
even the act of it is a meditation in of itself. It
It
puts you into a headspace, does it not?
it really actually is a form of meditation,
Yeah.
especially pipe smoking. Uh, the whole I kid you not, about this with somebody last night.
Yeah.
I have this whole thing that when a pipe smoker enters the realm of the pipe, if
Yeah.
you will, he becomes contemplative, he becomes thoughtful, he's relaxed,
Yeah.
or he, I shouldn't say just say he,
Sure, sure.
all those kinds of things, right? So,
Yeah.
question Able Poetry or Pottery said, "Can I be a clay witch?" I would think yes.
Oh my gosh, I think that's great. I mean, because you're creating something. You're putting your essence. No person's pot's gonna be the same. Just like no person's eggs. Whenever you make eggs, even if someone scrambles the eggs and then I come and scramble the eggs never taste the same.
That's true.
So it's definitely like, and then if you gift that to somebody, you have it in your home, like, that's a piece of you. So of course, a clay witch, a pottery witch,
Oh,
Yeah.
informal mystic said, Brad, you should meditate. Bitch, I right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not just a joke when you see the person with the pipe and they're like, it's a real life, right?
It's totally a whole different feel.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
And
No, this
it
is the thing.
smells, and they're
Yeah,
different tastes. And so you
sure.
a whole different world. So that's right
Yeah,
on date. Right.
yeah. Bitch, I do. That's funny.
Okay. So we got to wrap this up here. But
Yeah.
what can we look forward to seeing from you? What's coming? Any kind of promotions? Hey, listen, let me just be the first to say that everybody's watching now, everybody that's going to watch in the future, you've got to follow Kat. All right. Kat Mangrove is incredible.
Aw,
You quickly become one
thanks.
of my friends. I appreciate everything you do. So what can we do to support you, or what do you have coming up?
Oh, thanks. That's so sweet of you, Brad. Because I was even thinking today, like when I was walking my dog, I was like, one of Brad's posts even hit me real hard. Like when you talked about anxiety and how even, I know this is kind of random, but like using the bathroom a lot can be considered a form of anxiety. Like you have a different way of thinking about things like I never thought about. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I got some of these symptoms. Like,
Maybe that's experience speaking.
maybe that's what?
It's personal experience speaking, right?
Perhaps. But like, yeah, so you're also have quickly become one of my favorite people online on IG. So thanks for that. But yeah, so you can just find me on Instagram and Twitter at Cat Mangrove. Cat as in the animal, mangrove as in the tree. And Twitter's a little bit where I get a little bit more raw, a little more hood on there. Like I'm a little more on there. Like if you really want to think, like see how I really think, it's Twitter for you.
Go.
But I post a lot of the same things on Instagram. And yeah, I just write about religious deconstruction, leaving Seventh Day Adventism, body positivity. I talk about music because I love music. I love R&B. I feel like that's a meditation in and of itself. I love music. It puts me into a different world. And I just write about a little bit about my life as a veterinarian, and just if there's anything happening like in the church, like the Adventist church, or just the church in general, anything that like I feel like I want to speak up about, anything about sea witchery in general, just African spirituality. I just write about those kinds of things.
Love it.
And I am working on a book, and the working title, it's called Sea Healing. And so it's just about how I had like a convalescent period, like during 2019, 2020, and how I was just sick. I was down and out. Like I was, again, had relationship addiction. I was the substance abuse, not really. It was more really bad relationship addiction. And just I was fat. I was demelanated because I had come from Ohio, so I was just pale. I was like a pale ghost, a
Yeah.
pale a
No.
pale ghost. And I was a ghost of myself. Like to be honest, I was living in my own personal hell. I mean, just to keep it real, like I try to just keep it 100 because I don't think it benefits anybody not to just be honest. So that book is just going to be kind of like I wrote almost every day for an entire year, and it's just about that journal and how like writing about it and seeing how crazy I was kind of helped me like get a backbone and start to love myself.
Mm.
And I talked about how I went out to the sea and stuff like that, and how it healed me. Because there's a whole even like scientific movement called the blue mind theory about how the water can heal people. Like we are mostly water. Scientists postulate that life came from water. Most of the biodiversity in the world is in the water. You can't live without water. So I think that's why I'm very oriented towards it, because it literally is the life-giving source. So, I'm writing kind of about that in that book. So I'm working on that.
Oh,
But yeah. So be on the lookout for that.
I definitely will be.
Yeah.
I can't wait. You definitely have to let me promote that when you do get it published and put it out.
Thanks. And same here. Anything you're doing, you hit me up and I will definitely like, like try to shout you out.
I love it.
Obviously.
Love it. By the way, a couple more comments. Questionable pottery.
Yes.
Quite possibly the Jewish priests were smoking cannabis. Here, here.
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 I'll
The
drink to that.
informal mystic, please bring Twitter cat to IG. Would love to. Blair would love to see that. Uh,
Okay. Well, yeah, I feel like sometimes, on Twitter, like you can just quickly like make a quick rant.
yeah.
Because every social media is like different, right? Like Facebook is
Yes.
just like right now my Facebook is just like it's just my conventional Facebook, and like I don't put anything controversial on there because people love to fight on Facebook, I've noticed. And it has all my people that don't necessarily want to hear about what I'm talking about. But on Instagram, people like to see pictures, right?
Yes.
And then Twitter's like when you're just it's 2 a.m. and you just get a message and you're just like, nah, like I'm just gonna write about this right quick. Twitter's kind of for that. Instagram, whatever's important, I kind of put on the Instagram. But
Yeah.
Twitter is kind of it's the social media for ranting more
Mm.
than any other one.
I do want to give a quick shout out because Blair, the informal mystic,
Yes.
Daily Loaf, I believe, I got to watch
Daily.
live today. They did an IG live today, which was excellent. So
Daily Loaf did an IG live
yes,
with who?
I think was it informal mystic. Is that right, Blair? I'm waiting for her to chime in here. Maybe she'll write
Is
something.
it up for replay?
IG live. I think you can go to her page.
Oh my gosh, I totally have to watch that after this.
That's true. Yep, there we go. I
Oh my
watched
gosh.
it, and so it's really good. So if you want to find that one, go to Informal Mystic page.
Oh, I definitely will because Daily Loaf is out of control.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Anyways, hey, listen, Kat, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me. And,
Yeah, no problem.
I feel smarter when I'm done talking with you and
Oh
learning.
wow.
Really appreciate everything you've talked about. I know you thought I was kidding about the pipe, but I am going to explore that.
Yeah, I'd be
You know,
very, that's very interesting to me. That, yeah, anything really can put you in the zone. Like a
yes,
runner's high, whatever. There's gotta be there's a ritual to using the pipe. It's a culture,
yes,
you
yes,
know?
totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're pretty good at it. So
Yeah.
we'll check that out. But hey, listen, if you ever need anything, please let us know. Thank you, everybody who has joined us and walked through this with us. We're excited to have you. Father Loaf, that's what it was. That's awesome. Yeah. He had a mask on and everything. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
yeah, right? So it was
Oh,
amazing.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch this because I know it's gonna be off the chain.
It is. It is. Once again, thank you. And we will hopefully talk again soon. Does that sound good?
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, thanks for everyone that came to see the live, Like I know I follow a lot of your guys' pages, so it's just great to see everybody and just to dialogue and just like let's just get better together. Let's just like heal together. That's what IG is my church, okay? Instagram, Deconstruction Church. All right? So yeah, I love attending that church. Go there anytime I want to. It's always open.
It's always open and you can
Yeah.
say whatever you want.
Yes. So yeah. All right. Take it easy,
Hey,
Brad. Take it
you
easy.
take care. Thank you very much, Kat.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good day. Bye, guys.